Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Brandon and I'm a photographer and videographer in Southern California. And in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Sony 12-24 f4 lens here. And the camera that we're going to be attaching this to is the Sony a7 III. And in today's video, I'm going to do a quick review on both the pros and cons that I found using this in a hybrid work setting. So just to state the obvious facts, it is a 12-24 wide angle zoom lens, which is really nice. And it goes down to f4, which is not bad, but it is not the 2.8. And with that 12-24 zoom, it allows you to get into a lot such as interiors, architectural, and landscape if that's something you're into. I was using this on an interior setting, shooting homes, doing both photo and video. And I will add some footage of a house I shot yesterday for photo. It was some listing photos, and then I will add some video as well. I think it did a pretty good job here, especially on photos in Lightroom. You can really get rid of that distortion, so I didn't notice it much, and I don't think it was a huge issue. And that 24 does allow you to zoom in when it's needed. So as we look at the images, you can see here, it does the job, especially at 12 millimeters. It does a really good job at showing the whole room. So that's obviously what we're looking for in real estate photography and for videos as well. And it does a good job at doing that. And it was also pretty sharp along the way. But as we move on to videos, where I started finding a little bit more hiccups, and a lot of it could be user error because this was the first time I used the lens, so take it with a grain of salt. So as we're looking at the footage, I think I got some pretty good footage out of the 4K 30 FPS. I think it looks pretty good, sharp, and no problems here. And it was pretty bright out, so I stopped it down to f22, and we still got a good amount of sharpness out of it in 4K. But as I moved over to 1080p to slow it down, because this camera cannot do 4K 60, so we went to 1080p, shot 60 and 120 FPS, and that's when I started to run into some issues. I don't know exactly why this was. I thought it was because I stopped down to f22, but I also did that in 4K, so I'm not exactly sure. Could have been some sort of focusing issue on my part. I kept it in autofocus on some, manual on the other, and it just didn't seem to work with the combo of the camera at 1080p, so I don't really know there. There's a lot of factors to consider. So it did a pretty good job all around. Again, it is f4, so once you get into some of those darker rooms, you might start wanting to think about getting that 2.8, but that price difference is a pretty big jump, so that is something to consider. And I also want to compare this eventually to the Luau 12mm, which is something I probably will add to my kit pretty soon. So in theory, I think it is a pretty good lens, and around $1,700, I believe. It's not bad, but again, I do want to compare it to that 12mm because I didn't use the zoom function a lot. And when I did want to get into something tighter, I have my 28-75 Tamron 2.8, which is really great, and I love that lens. And I also have a 50 1.8, and that is also great as well. For $1,700, I'm not exactly sure because again, you look at the 12mm, which goes for about $850, and I hear great results from that. So it is something I will have to compare. But for a zoom lens, it's not bad. But in terms of the lens itself, I don't think I'll be keeping it because I think I'd like to get into something 2.8 or under. But overall, the lens I think is pretty good, and for the price, it's not bad, but I don't think it's for me. For the price range, I think I'd like to get into something in 2.8 or under for me, especially when I'm shooting in a lot of low lit areas. I think that's going to be really important for me, and the f4 doesn't seem to cut it. But overall, I think it is a pretty good lens. It has a nice wide zoom, goes down to f4, which is not bad for most scenarios. It's pretty sharp, has low distortion, and one thing I didn't mention is this thing is super light. I'll have to find the specs and put that on screen. But this thing I used on a gimbal, no problems compared to some of the other G Master lenses. So overall, I give this a 7.5. Again, if you have the money and you need something with this range, I think it is a pretty good lens. Another benefit is the internal zoom. It doesn't zoom and extend the body like it does on the Tamron 28-75, which is great for when you're shooting on a gimbal, so you do not have to rebalance it. It does move, obviously, but not much, and it does it again internally, so that weight is shifted within. So I appreciate you guys staying to the end if you did, and I appreciate you watching. If you guys want to see more tutorials, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will keep making videos for you. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.